Why are you gay?
Same.
You are paid heavily to promote homosexuality in Uganda.
Message.
Welcome back, GATV family. It's your boy Gravitating Away, back at it again. Now, in some extreme news the other day, Uganda lawmakers approved new legislation that entrenches the criminalization of same-sex conduct. It also creates new offenses that will curtail any activism on lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender issues. It eradicates LGBTQ people from any form of social engagement in Uganda. The 2023 anti-homosexuality bill confirms an already existing punishment of life imprisonment for same-sex conduct, while also increasing to 10 years the prison sentence for an attempt at same-sex conduct. But one of the most egregious provisions, says anti-homophobic activists, they say this bill includes the cause for death penalty in certain circumstances, including for serial offenders or for anyone having same-sex relations with a person with a disability, thereby automatically denying persons with disabilities the capacity to consent to sex. Specifically, with the death penalty, it also aims at anyone of LGBTQ plus community engaging in sexual acts with any minors. Now, folks, that was a lot to digest in, but we got to break this down. And before I do so, I want to play you all the moment when the bill was passed in Uganda.
This house will not shy to restrict any right to the extent of the house recognizes, protects, and safeguards the sovereignty of this country, the morals of this country, the cultures, and will always legislate for our people.
In our country, we will have our morals. We will protect our children. And we are making this law. We are making this law for ourselves. We are making this law for our children. We are making this law for the children of our children. This country will stand firm. And once it passed, I can tell you, Madam Speaker, we are going to reinforce the law enforcement officers to make sure that homosexuals have no space in Uganda.
Whoa. Talk about not pussyfooting around over there, y'all. I mean, hey, this is the personal way that I see it. While I have my own reservations about the whole death penalty part of it, I mean, it sounds insane to be executed over something, such as your sexual orientation. I don't promote that. But what I do promote is leaving every sovereign nation to their own agendas. What makes the Western world, specifically the United States, the world's police? What makes us the moral compass? By the way, a compass that has been broken so long ago for whatever she states she stands for. This nation, we have our own issues here. And I do see the agenda without, disrespecting anybody's orientation or entrapping on anyone's rights and dignities. I can say every sovereign nation has the right to move forward the way they see it best fit. And the problem with a country like Uganda, which, by the way, most African nations are really paying attention to them and are following suit. In fact, several other nations already have made claim to follow suit with the direction they're headed to. Uganda, that is. But the agenda that I have been seeing being pushed so heavily in Africa almost matches the schemes that these Western nations and other countries around the world tries to accomplish when taking that continent's resources. So again, how I see it, in the face of an extremity such as something most folks in that continent are not accustomed to, guys. I'm telling you, they're not accustomed to our open way of life. You know, most nations around the world views the United States as Sodom and Gomorrah. So to push these things to people who have maintained certain customs for thousands of years, it's almost a slap in the face to them. So with extreme tactics from the left of the West, they are trying their best to match it with extreme measures. Now again, I'm not for necessarily all the extreme measures, but I am for doing whatever you have to do to protect your way of life. You know, I really prosper very well from the benefits of a nation over here in the United States with certain opportunities. I do my best to prosper very well, as that of my family and my friends. This is why I always tell people, you know, try traveling and maybe you'll look at this country a little different. But in terms of the politics of it all, I'm not for pushing any agenda that goes against one's beliefs, way of life, and specifically targets children. Now, let's touch bases on that, Mark. When I'm talking about the LGBTQ community, I specifically am speaking of the entire gender identity issue and seemingly the unchecking of minor children, damn near of any age, that gets introduced and indoctrinated into this type of way of living. I mean, these are children that don't even have the right to sign for certain things, to do certain things, but they can go ahead and say at 3 years old, Dwayne Wade, 3 years old, that they want to be female or they want to be male, and we're all in on that. We're all in on that. We are a society in the West where, you know, we take it very serious if a youth wants to drink, smoke, etc., etc. Even, you know, wagging the finger at them about tattoos. But hey, if you want to change your entire identity, go ahead. Not giving that child time to really understand the life-altering decisions that they could be making. I mean, these are things that, you know, when speaking on, are met with, you know, being called homophobic, being called anti-gay, and I don't see it that way. I see that we should leave that sovereign nation to their own doings and respectfully worry about what's going on at home, which, by the way, it's a lot of mess over here that we got to be concentrated on. You know, I was reading further into the article, and it says the bill also outlaws the promotion of homosexuality, effectively instituting a system of complete censorship on LGBTQ issues. Anyone advocating for the rights of LGBTQ or providing financial support to organizations that do so could face up to 20 years imprisonment. I mean, I know a lot of you really don't, you know, see what's going on outside of your spaces here in the West. But if you ever took the time to really tap into certain networks of media that are out there, it's some crazy stuff going on, y'all. You know, it's some crazy stuff that's going on. A lot of the Western world's advocate of LGBTQ, you know, there were so many articles written back in the early 2000s of how, you know, they would masquerade in the form of promoting safe sex, promoting usage of condoms, you know, promoting HIV awareness, and that was used as a guise to undermine the country's, you know, natural state in what they believe to be normal. And they would push this LGBTQ agenda, which really started at the height in Africa in the early 2000s. And you have many world leaders, specifically in the continent of Africa, that spoke out against this. And I would like to share some of those leaders' thoughts on this issue.
Mr. President, you were speaking about a modern Africa, and I'm here with the Bay Area Reporter, which is the LGBT newspaper. And for people who don't know what LGBT is, that's the gay and lesbian community. So I'm wondering, you've done so much for women in Rwanda, and they have so much power. I'm wondering, is the LGBT community a part of the future of Rwanda?
It hasn't been our problem. And we don't intend to make it a problem.
What is your message to Western human rights groups, to President Obama,
Respect,
to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people?
Respect African societies and their values. If you don't agree, you just keep quiet. Let's manage our society the way we see. If we are wrong, we shall find out by ourselves. Just the way we don't interfere with yours.
Message!
Obama visited the East African nation as a U.S. senator, but never as president. His father was from Kenya, and he still has relatives here.
Because he's our brother, we welcome him.
Polls show Mr. Obama enjoys widespread popularity among Kenyans.
But the president's visit is not without controversy. You see, close to 700 Kenyan evangelical pastors have written an open letter asking the president not to talk about the gay agenda.
We do not want him to come and talk on homosexuality in Kenya or push us to accepting that, which is against our faith and our culture. Let him talk about cooperation. Let him talk about the long-time relationship Kenya has had with America, but about our beliefs and culture, keep off.
We cannot ask Senegal to say tomorrow we legalize homosexuality and tomorrow is gay parades. That's not possible either, because our society doesn't accept it. Society will evolve. It will take as long as it takes. I believe that even in northern countries, this debate isn't totally exhausted.
As you all just heard these African leaders, speak their piece on this issue, there's a reoccurring theme about preventing Western ideas to be the top agenda and priority in Africa. These leaders of their respective nations feels like there are other pressing matters to be concerned about than pushing someone's sexual orientation and lifestyle. These are the arguments that I make myself. Not to be the one to point this out or sound like this, but I have to speak on it. When you have children that are homeless, children that are dying, when you have economic hardships for families right here in the US, but yet even here the top agenda is pushing a hate narrative on the LGBTQ community. See, not hate because there's this great deal of numbers that are being ostracized or being, attacked upon. No, the attack and hate is attributed to not agreeing with their ideas. Not even not agreeing with their lifestyle, but not agreeing with the idea of pushing certain agendas. So if you don't agree with certain set agendas, you are labeled homophobic, as I said before. And that is what is spewing this so-called narrative of LGBTQ hate. Simply not accepting doesn't mean there's an attack on human beings, because whether they identify as XYZ, they are human beings. We have so many pressing matters to deal with here in the US. I don't know how we have time to worry about what's going on in Africa. Or could it be the resources that, it's always being followed through with certain sanctions, certain toppling of sovereign governments that was elected by the people, whether you agree or not. So many political CIA hit jobs happens in particularly the continent of Africa that it's hard to maintain stability. There are US and other world countries backed leaders in Africa, puppets is what I'm saying, puppet state regimes. I mean, it's a joke for them to now make pressing matters be about African agenda of the homosexual reality of LGBTQ matters. It doesn't make any sense. And let's make this clear. You would be a fool to think that just because it's Africa that there are no, gay folks over there. Yeah, you would be a fool to presume that. And that's not what the issue is. It's not even about hiding in the closet necessarily. It's about the promotion of a particular agenda that seems at the top of the entire world's priority. It must make you ponder and think, why, people? You have to. I mean, what I found funny was seeing the White House respond with so-called swiftness to the recent Ugandan anti-gay bill. They responded with threatening with sanctions and all of these aesthetically appeasing, spin narratives that they're doing just to appease the LGBTQ community. Because let's be honest, that community is very powerful politically, but not more powerful than most of these European nations, including the US, having hold of the precious resources in Africa. Let's not make any mistake about it. Now they're gonna come out here and chant about giving defiance to this new bill in Africa, specifically Uganda. They're gonna do all that it takes to, again, aesthetically make it look like they're outraged and disappointed, but nothing will be done to those countries. I'm telling you now, the precious resources that they rely on, they're not gonna touch it. This is why, Qatar, stood firm in their resolve about this LGBTQ agenda, and nothing was done to them, because most of these countries that claim to be upset and showcase such vitriol against the stance these countries take, they're not going to go against these nations because they need their resources. So of course they're going to say what the LGBTQ community wants to hear, but my final thought on this is leave Africa alone. Haven't y'all done enough? Haven't you guys done enough? Leave Africa alone. Sure, you can have your opinion, but let's worry about what's going on right here in America. Please, guys. Is that hard? Or for you other nations, worry about your own countries. I mean, Jesus, Lord, you can't make this up. I've never seen so much outrage about Africans not accepting LGBTQ, but with the many other issues going on in Africa, like the likes of China gobbling up all the damn land over there, so much other issues going on over there, and we're making this the priority. That should make you guys pay attention. Again, I'm not with, going against human rights, but I have a problem with agendas and narratives being spun and pushed. We have to do better, folks. Respectfully, we got to do better. It's our responsibility to do research and understand what they're trying to push down our throats and minds. This was Gravitating Away, giving you guys some insight. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you did, like, share, comment, and subscribe, y'all. But most importantly, I'm gonna need y'all to keep coming back.